Hello everyone, and welcome to the Eve Art panel. Art and graphics, actually. We have on stage also this year. I don't remember if Steve was with us on stage last year. He was already. Steve, the lead graphics programmer on Eve. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same faces, or if not exactly the same, at least faces that you've seen here and there for quite a few years. So I'm not going to name everyone. We can always introduce ourselves when we answer questions, maybe a bit later. It's been a year. It's been a year since we've seen you, or at least for the ones that were already here last year, and people on stream as well. Welcome to the art panel. We were thinking of starting the presentation. We have a lot of things to show you. You've seen some of it you haven't seen yet. We were thinking of starting with just going a bit over what we've been doing over the past year, going a bit briefly on all the things that you already know, the things that you've already seen, but it's kind of to put a bit in the context of what we are preparing now and what you will see and discover pretty soon. So last year we made some new ships with you can clap if you like it, it's okay. I will clap too, because I didn't draw that, but I like it. So the Sister of Eve ships, of course, which was a very interesting project, and in the way that it was kind of exploring a bit a new kind of line of design and trying something new colors and new shapes, and seeing a bit how Eve could be something else, also without losing what makes the style of Eve makes Eve, of course. The cruiser as well, which is fantastic, looking great. I think that Goge designed it. The guy there with the hat. Goge, that was you, right? Yeah, that was me. And the battleship as well. That was a design, and that was interesting because usually he's very frustrated that he doesn't get to draw anymore that much, but Ausgert, the art director, was very much involved in designing this one. So refreshing experience for him as well. So we made some new ships, and we did, of course, redesign also some ships that you've seen already. And here we have a bit of a slideshow showing some of them. The redesign is kind of an ongoing thing that we have. Some of it is more kind of linked to the feature or the gameplay updates that we're also creating for EVE Online, but some of them are also just for the sake of renovating a bit things that we feel need a bit of refresh. So here is a bit of a slideshow of things. You can just keep clapping through it because they're all pretty awesome, I think. Yeah. And so yes, redesign. We will show you a bit more after that. We are already working on more of that. Some of it that you have seen maybe already at the EVE keynote in some places. We also reworked the Capital Rex, of course, because you guys love to build shit, but you also, of course, love to break it. So we have to break the stuff that we built so you can see what you broke. So that was nice. And we're also, of course, working. It was something that also was not just a kind of an artistic project when we redid all the Capital Rex, but it was also a good way for us to build some technology and technical tools behind it in order to be able to generate those, because if we would start to go and model every single bits and pieces of all that, it would be a lot of work. So by using some good technical artist skills, we managed to have some tools that allow us to create and generate those. So it's great because it gives us now the possibility to do even more for more things than just the capital ships. So that's something that is upcoming, of course. Last year we also worked on a whole series of mobile units that you've seen already and that you know by now. So all of these were concepted, modeled, and textured, and so on, in collaboration, of course, with game design. And it was also here interesting to explore a bit some design that was not so much about the factions and so much about kind of the place where we sometimes are a bit trapped when we look at, okay, we're going to make a new thing and we need 4 of it, one for each faction and so on. Whereas for things like that, it's more about industrial design in a way and maybe less of a purely racial thing. But what's happening now? So we've been, of course, working on a lot of things. You've seen a bit, some of it already, and maybe at that point, you guys on the panel don't hesitate to jump in and maybe explain a bit what's behind the ideas there. Ships redesign and variations of existing ships as well. So one of the first candidates there is the Condor. I don't know. Oscar, if you want to jump in and tell a bit why we redid it and oh, really?
Well, this was a ship that I designed back when we were doing Trinity. It was actually going to be a test ship during the Trinity phase. It had big launchers on either side of the spine, but since we redesigned the turret system, I had to remove those, and we've now on the Crow, we've placed it on the wings instead. Here we go. And those platforms now also have warp animation.
The animation, it's a screenshot, so. But I can, what I can do is that, if I do that, and I'll mime the next one. And there's the Raptor. So there is those guys, and then you've seen this one, I believe, at the EVE keynote, if you attended it, if you remember it. So this one is a variation here of the our frigate. I don't know, Oscar, if you want to say anything about it, or?
There was a new artist working on this, Emer. He's usually been doing just 3D up till now, but so he was doing the variation, or designed the variation, and gave it more of a stealthy look.
Another one that, this one has been ready for quite a while, actually. That's one of the concepts that we've had kind of ready on the site for quite a while now, and it's waiting for its turn in the renovation queue to get a full facelift. And then we have this little guy.
So we changed this one quite a bit, as you can see, and removed the asymmetry almost completely. And it's going into the direction that Kaldari is moving into more in general. So even more angular shapes.
And animations as well, the extremity of the wings there, as you can see on the lowest two face profiles there. They have different positions. We try to integrate that more and more in the ships that we renovate and the new ships that we make, to have those like different states that translate in the visuals of the ship as well. And that's also something that you can see on this guy. Here's more details.
Can you zoom in that close?
This one is one of the earliest ships we did, and it was in a desperate need of a redesign.
And it's great because when we do those redesigns, of course, when we're working on ships that are quite old at some point, we always have the possibility to add more details, to retweak without really changing the heart of it. We can always add more things by using much more the textures that we have and the technology and so on, because it evolves constantly, so we can always refine more and more. It's not always about just changing things, but more refining what's also is already there. Another thing that we did also, and that's a big part of the infamous V3 project and all the shaders and all the tools that we have in place and so on. It's to be able to work on factional stations, for example, which means that we can now have stations that represent visually the faction that is attached to them. By the way, I believe, Svenbjørn, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe that all the stuff that we're showing now is going out.
Yes, they're going out
right now, right?
I mean, with the station skins, we were really thinking about the space being, you know, when you're traveling within the same solar system, it's always or often the same station that you see. So by making the actual exterior much like the ships, that you can actually recognize them from the outside and feel like you're traveling.
And then you can probably also prepare a few applause for what's coming next. So I guess that most of you have seen it at the, I think at the EVE keynote they were shown already, those ships, but we wanted to spend a bit of time also showing you those new designs and maybe talk a bit more about where it comes from and the inspiration behind it. Great. I think it's probably the only panel where people clap at every single slide. Yeah. So we're updating something on the server and like, oh.
I'm very happy with how these ships turned out. Mortis Legion is a mercenary type of organization, and it has ties with Kaldari Navy and Intaki, so it's kind of fitting to have these soft shapes combined with the hard edges of Kaldari. Also, they have like access to the high-tech, you know, high-tech gear from Kaldari Navy. So we want to reflect that with a little bit like influences from Skunk Works, which is like a Lockheed Martin's special. Yes.
I was trying to click it.
Influences from the F-35 and the Nighthawk and the Blackbird and such.
That's the same ship seen from under. When?
Kronos, it's coming out in Kronos.
Mm-hmm. So frigate is nice, cruiser is nice, but if you want something bigger,
yeah, Georg here worked on the battleship.
Names for it, I can't remember the names.
The names were on the keynote. We have
there,
like,
yeah.
We have the work names if you're interested, but I doubt it.
I think that was called the Barguest or something like that.
Mm. We can't really write or read in art, so the names as long as the color and the shape is good. It's pretty nice. I'm very much looking forward to see that coming at me. With the sun in the background, it's going to be scary. And here are a few details of, I believe that's from the cruiser. Just we took a few close-ups to show a bit like the details, the inspirations there, all the things that we try to put together.
We're trying to show, give more attention to scale now, so have a very accurate scale in the game, and I think that's reflected in these new designs.
That was for the ships. Well, I get the clap before the slides. Better. Okay, warping in and warping out. That's something that most of you have probably seen already. We have a few more videos here than the things that have been shown already. We're just going to play it and then we can talk a bit about what's behind it. Listen carefully. It's not that loud. So of course, in those videos, the sound is kind of, on purpose a bit pumped up, and I guess that with all the new sound dashboard that the sound guys have put together, you will be able to tweak a bit all that. But, yeah. I don't know if Oscar is sorry.
I would say the sound will, all of it will be adjusted over the coming weeks, probably. These are not the final sound or final effects, but we're working on it.
Just one more time then.
This was actually inspired quite a lot by a video a player made originally. Like the look of it.
One thing also that we've been reworked quite a lot is the lens flares, and both with new tech and new art utilizing that tech. So we have a little video here that will show you a bit. I don't remember how many variations do we have now of the lens flares. We have a bunch, right?
I think there's 11 or 13.
A dozen?
Sun flares. It's the sun flares. I think we have 13 variations of it. And they were all updated. They will all be updated, yeah.
So we just picked a few random. A lot of those things are really recent. I mean, the warping out is just basically a few days old. The lens flares also is something that we were still working on very recently. There's a bit of it. And that's also going out right now in June, right?
And there's a few things. It scales a lot of where it appears in the scene, and also it's a little hard to see when you don't have a before and after, but also adds more light and binds the scenes together better than the old ones did. So yeah, it's all together really nice addition and update.
More drama. Something we've been working on also quite a bit over the year is more things around the avatars. We've been working on costumes. Interestingly enough, some of those designs are actually pretty old in a way, and were some of the very first design that we made when working on Incarna. And all that tie, I believe, and maybe Svenbjørn, do you have more details about that in gameplay, game design, implementation, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of dug up old concepts. Oscar here went over with the character artists some of the, things that were before the new character creator, and we tried to find something and modernize it. really go through it. I mean, Ásgeir, you can maybe elaborate a bit on the designs themselves.
Yeah, it's basically it's a bit more like the old characters, old Eve characters, more in line with them. More of a costumey type of clothing. Part of the lore.
It's definitely a direction we're trying now. Is to, you know, it's a bit more elaborate than they were before, like the ones that we shipped or have been shipping.
And another thing we've been working on is the cybernetic limbs. So you've of course seen some of those already. Those and all the variations that we had here. And then of course, corpses. It's art. And also we've been working, this is not technically EVE Online, but more the EVE universe, but that's something that was made here in Reykjavik by our great character artist, so we thought it would be interesting to also put it in the presentation. That's the now famous round. The first Valkyrie pilot, so she was created here in Reykjavik and designed here in Reykjavik by the team. And because those shots were too good to be left out of the presentation, we really thought it would be a cool thing to show you. You've seen her already. And then the things that you're not going to see right away, at least not on your computers, but things that we've been working on and that are either research and things that we're exploring, trying to figure out at the moment, or things that are almost in place and just need the implementation phase, really. One thing, the metaballs. The metaballs is something that was talked about, I think, a bit this morning if you went to the graphics programmers roundtable. The idea here, and we can see it on the video, is that very often we have a bit of a problem when a lot of spheres intersect with each other. So there are several benefits from merging them in a kind of procedural way like that. Maybe Steve, you can elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, we all know how that it is. You jump in a system and you see all these warp disruption bubbles, and it's annoying. Your screen is white, your frame rate goes down. And with this new technique, we hope to counter that. So it's only one object that gets rendered. It is only one surface. That's what it's called. It's called a metaball. We built this structure out of all these other spheres. And we hope it's going to be a lot faster. Also, we can use it to display certain volumes in space. It's very exciting. We'll see where that goes.
And then a few other things that we've been working on. Those are a bit less on the technical side, even if there is a bit of technical questions behind it, but they are more on a kind of vision and the general idea that we would like the landscape in EVE and the universe to be more dynamic, because after all it's a universe that is full of life and a lot of things happening, being in combat and business and transportation. There is people all around and we don't sometimes feel that we see enough of it. So we've been playing a bit with some ideas there. Billboards. Ásgeir, if you want to say a bit, you know, what are the ideas behind that?
Yeah, Kasper, you worked on this?
Yeah, this is basically just reflecting the activity in stations, how much activity is there and what kind of activity. So there would be general billboards and billboards reflecting industry activity and billboards reflecting science activity. There would be, you know, X amount of billboards according to how busy the station is. And this combined with, I guess we have more screenshots with other things, would then indicate how busy the station is and would then change. The idea is that these things, of course, change dynamically. If the change, then if the station will get deserted, those things will then scale back. Also,
yeah, I mean
and this was very much, this was built. I mean, this is, actually not sure if this is a screenshot or a concept, but this was built like this and we had it. So this is something we very much want to do, and adding billboards in this was something we even considered during the V3 process, but due to technical limitations we haven't gotten in yet. That's something we really want to do.
This is a research project that we actually did. So I mean, like Kasper said, we took it pretty far. We tried it out and put locators and like holographic billboards in the scene. But the sky's the limit for what we can put on it. It's more about like having dynamic behavior and things changing with what's happening or anything. But we haven't really nailed down what we could have on them.
Here's another example, concept as well of how it could look in a very busy place. The debris, billboards, there is a lot of things happening, and after all, we often feel that we could see more of that. And part of that could, for example, happen through seeing drones going around and doing things. This guy, for example, was a bit of an exploration design that we did with a scanner. You can see on the left, the 4 pictures on the left vertical series, kind of a scanning effect that could be there, and it could be repurposed for anything else. And more utility drones as well, for example. Again, just exploration. We're just thinking of how the world could be a bit more dynamic and how it could translate in terms of just visual and traffic in those busy places.
These specific drones were not thought of as gameplay related, at least not in this research. It was more just to represent, activity inside or outside of stations, and seeing that things it's a popular place or a very active place.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of things there, and then more things that are quite difficult to visualize at that point, so they're more listed like that. A lot of them are just linked to the way we light the universe in Eve, like multiple lights, energy conservation, and having more light, for example, bouncing from big objects like a planet, and lighting also the environments there, muzzle effects, the sunlight energy distance, basically how bright should the sun be compared, and how much light energy you should get from it depending on the distance you are from it within a system. And then the boosters and flares around that we could revamp and so on. So all that is a bit in progress one way or another. There is technical work and artists working with the graphics programmers and the technical artists and seeing how we could improve on those. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some of it will be ready and implemented in the near future. Some of it need more work, but it's kind of a to-do list that we have there. And there is much more than that that we have in the pipes. So that's all that. And then there is one more thing also that we wanted to show you. I mean, it's something that have been discussed and asked quite often. So we wanted to show a bit where we're at with that. I mean, it's something that you guys seem very enthusiastic about usually. So we've prepared a small video. The video is a bit long. I hope you're not going to get too bored from it. But you see where you're going to clap after. Well, you can clap for the whole 4 minutes. And read the disclaimer, that's important. So again, it's a tech demo. I mean, all that, the idea here was to show you guys where we're at with the tech. This is, you wouldn't want to see the interface that goes around that. It looks very flexible and very usable there. But all that was made, it's just a bit speed up there, but it's I think just like 2 or 3 times the speed of the actual process to do those. So the idea here is really to explore how far we can go in customization, how far you guys could go in customization, and then the wider we can shoot with this concept, the easier it will be for us to build a system that is actually in your hands so you can use that. Of course, it's going to be the job of game design and the guys doing all the UI, all the user experience around that. But our ambition is really to make it as flexible as what you saw there. If you think of the character creator, for example, and having something that you can sculpt by just touching it and just picking materials and shaping things the way you want and so on, that's the idea really behind it. So I hope that's something that you liked. I mean, we've been talking about it for quite a while. Now we're happy to have something to actually show about that. Anything you want to add, Ausger, except the fact that all that was not art directed?
Yeah, actually I made it, but these ships you see here, they come from an artist, William made them, and they look much better than what I did in those videos.
Yeah. And then there is one last little thing that we wanted to show you. It's yet another video. It's very short, and there is nothing much to say about it except to look at it. Steve, do you want to tell us what it is?
Well, it makes Eve brighter, and with this technique, we hope we can put an end to the ongoing discussion: is Eve too dark, or is it too bright, or yeah, you can choose yourself with that.
There you go. And it's good. The big keynote is starting in less than half an hour, which means that we have plenty of time for Q&A now. And I think I can bet what the first question will be. Let's give it a shot.
You are probably right. High resolution.
The $1 million is for me! High resolution texture.
I have already asked.
You asked me already somewhere.
So you know it.
Yes.
But
well,
I
I
actually
didn't.
have 2 other questions.
Okay, let's answer this one first. Right?
Yeah, the high resolution.
Okay. So the answer there is pretty easy. High resolution textures are ready when it comes to what we do. They are basically in the hands of the people who take care of distributing the content of EVE Online, maintaining it on a live server operation point of view. How do we distribute that? How would you make them optional or not, and so on. So to take the analogy that I gave you yesterday or the day before about that, we've written the letter. It's in the envelope. It's on our desk. Now it's about for the mailman to pick it up and bring it to you. So I know that the question really very often comes back to us, but it's up to the mailman right now, which is a production choice. It's a technical decision. And again, it's the people working on the launcher and how we distribute the data really for our game. So I'm sorry, I don't have the answer that you wanted.
Yeah, but another question is about the painting of the ship. What will be actually the visual difference between a Tech 1 and Tech 2 now? Because from what I can see, you can almost paint your Tech 1 ship as a Tech 2 ship. So there will almost be no visual difference anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to replicate exactly mask markings and coloring of the Tech 2 ship. But of course, I mean, it is a reason for us to continue making the Tech 2 ships like unique hull-wise as well. But it's also a game design decision. I mean, if you can customize your ship, can you make it look like something it's not? Maybe that is an intention in the design as well. I don't know. So it's not all up to us. It's also a game design decision if we do not specifically want that to be possible.
And with your advertisement, how about actually selling the advertising slots for corporations so they can advertise for themselves instead of just putting cans out and just have a long name that you have to scroll almost 2 meters in the overview?
I mean, that's where we have to explore. I mean, we're making the tech and being able to actually do this, but then it's up to game design or Eve as a whole to decide how to use it.
Thank you.
What's the name of the mailman?
He doesn't have a name. That's the problem. We can find his name. Well, it's not a name. It's a team, and it's a group of people that have to make those decisions.
Yeah. Now, more serious question. On the warp in and warp out, does the noise change depending on the size or class of ship that's coming in?
Yes, I believe so.
Excellent. And on the ship painting, notice you can change like all the surface of the ships. Can we also change like the running lights and headlights, say, on the Megathron?
Yeah. This demo was only for material and surface change, but yeah, definitely spotlights and point lights are also in that package.
Okay.
Hello. Going back to the picture of the station commercials and stuff like that, I also keep seeing these odd boxes outside. What are those boxes? What are they for? Why?
It was part of the experiment with just making a landscape around the stations. These were cargo containers of different sorts that would then spawn around stations, also indicating activity, industrial activity and stuff like that.
We want to have traffic in between also.
Some of the drones you saw in the concept were like ideas about, drones hauling around stuff around stations, also and stuff like that. So it was basically just dropped cargo containers, really, really big cargo containers.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Has there been any thought on redesigning capital ship warp effects? Because freighters warping sideways, as scary as it may be, it's kind of awkward.
Can you repeat? I just
sorry,
didn't hear.
redesigning capital ship warping effects, like freighters warping sideways or whatnot. Is there any sort of thought to maybe making it like a micro jump drive type effect?
Freighters warping sideways is a limitation of our physics simulation, if you want to call it that. That you should ask that the server guys.
Right.
We don't really like warping ships when they're sideways, but it's not much we can do about it. It's what the server tells us.
Okay, thank you.
I came to Fanfest 4 years ago, and they were talking about ship painting there, and Helmar said that he was worried about the time to penis equation of lots of penises and lots of spaceships. Is that a worry for you?
Well, Hilmar is an obsession with that. No.
Time to Hello Kitty is more worrying.
Well, it's like the limiting of the UI. So you had a lot of freedom in that video. I imagine it will be cut down.
There will be some limitations, but as Benjamin said, our intention is to have it as limitless as possible. So, but there will be some limitations on the strength of colors and but it won't be 50 Shades of Grey.
Hi. I noticed all the new ships, they are kind of symmetrical, and I kind of liked how EVE has a lot of asymmetrical ships. And is this a direction which EVE is going, that all new ships or redesigned ships are going to be symmetrical?
Excellent question.
Well, the battleship. The battleship has actually a little bridge underneath, which will make it a little bit asymmetrical. You didn't see it. Just for you.
It's somewhat intended. We want to reduce the kind of unbalanced, crazy asymmetry in some way, but still, we keep designing some asymmetrical ships.
I would like to come back to the question about customization limitations. With the system, I know it's a tech demo, but would there be a possibility of locking down customization on ships even as you trade in between players? Because in that manner you could distribute ships on corp-wide levels or alliance levels and basically have customized fleets which are locked down from them, and you could basically see whether or not it's a
you're already 10 steps away ahead of us in many ways.
Something we've discussed, but it's not our in our hands.
Yeah, but if there is the customization possibility of locking it to the object rather than to the character.
Yeah, I mean, it will be locked to the ship that you're making. I mean, we definitely want people to group together in, with the same colors, basically, so you can have a, better visual representation of who is fighting and less everybody are flying their own color. Where we're gonna go with it, I mean, we are just exploring it. We designed the system basically pretty open in the beginning, and we try to figure out these steps along the way, but we're not there yet.
Thank you.
So someone's going to ask it. Logos? Corp, Alliance, personal?
The discussion is going on here, yeah.
We're still discussing what we can do. I mean, we start with the hull now. We look at the materials and these kind of more large-scale effects that you see, and then we'll look at smaller things.
So far everything looks like it's station-bound for painting your ship. Will there also be some love for Titans and supercarriers? So I can finally get a pink Erebus?
Yes, absolutely. This tag works on all ships. It could even work on stations.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, yes. So the high-res textures.
Yeah, should we go back to that? No, the Venture, it has lights in front of it, so you can see what you're actually working on. Are there any plans to give the other mining ships some kind of similar lights? Because when you're actually working, it could be nice to have some lights so you can see what you're actually doing. I know that it's only a visual effect, but...
There are no special plans for it, but it's a good idea.
Yeah, you can also use the slider Steve made to...
Yeah, but that would light up everything, not the rock you're working on.
I'm going to ask you something that I already asked you out there, so then everybody can get your answer to this. 2 years ago, you guys showed prototypes for damage effects, like you could see the difference between a shot hitting your shields, your armor, or your hull. And basically, what has become of that? Where is this now?
We are using part of that technology now for the racks.
Yes, and these specific effects, they're still on our plan, but prioritization and all that,
But definitely the tech is underneath is being actively worked on. So, like R&D projects, we
so
tend
this
to use
is actually what you use to make the capital works.
There is the holes are that technology.
Will subcaps get this kind of treatment on the wrecks?
Subcaps are more difficult when it comes to leaving a rack because they are not or have not been dropping unique racks. So if we would start to do that, that would add to the scene and the load. So fleet fights and all of those would then be littered with unique racks. So that's something we have to take a very careful look at if we're going to go that way.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this question is your department or not, but a couple of years back, NVIDIA shows some physics where asteroid hit into a sunshine ship. Yeah, the tessellation. Is that something that is planned forward with anymore? Because it would be actually very good to have some debris.
There's no plans to exploit that further.
Okay.
Not at this moment, no.
Thank you.
Warp in effect, warp out effect. That is an environment effect, but I'm wondering about how this will impact the cloaky ships.
Not at all. Cloaking ships are not part of your grid, so they won't show up.
Just more on tessellation. As you showed the demo, are newer ships being sculpted, or do they have a displacement map for future tessellation and details?
No.
I would say I extend maybe a bit. I mean, we're not sculpting the ships; they are, modeled. We have high-res or high-detail versions of them that we could bake high-detail maps of, like height maps or any things like that. But it's not something that we're utilizing right now.
Okay, all good. Ready for the big keynote? 10 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. See you later and see you tonight at the party for more Q&A.